welcome to this Friday morning meditation in Redwood City. Delighted to be here. And how I'm feeling at this moment is a little bit relevant to the, the topic of this week, emptiness. Hello and welcome. So it feels a little bit like a dream, a little bit like a kind of kind of a dream-like to be getting up in the morning, coming down here in the dark, setting up all this electronics, and talking into an empty room, while at the same time feeling this warm, heartfelt connection to names in the chat, and knowing some of the people who are here, and some of you have been doing this for a long time, and it's kind of an amazing dream-like experience that's very heartwarming and nice. And the topic of the emptiness is often associated with the world being dream-like. And the teachings of emptiness, at least in the Theravada tradition, the insight tradition here, is that it's really a pointing to, encouraging us, giving us the background to help us understand the value of not clinging to anything, not taking this amazing capacity to be aware and having it bottled up, having it frozen, stopped, having it contracted, but rather, and have it be really heavy and dense, but rather to have our capacity to be aware be phenomenally light, soft, as if it has no weight. And in doing so, we're not solidifying awareness, we're not tightening up around things and around concepts. And that lack of solidification, that lack of contracting around things, clinging to things, can give a dream-like feeling that, unless you have nightmares, but a dream-like feeling that things are kind of like hologram, insubstantial, floating, not exactly real, but not unreal. So, I'll guide you a little bit in this way. So to assume a meditation posture, and maybe first do feel the substantial nature of this body. And feeling the weight of the body against your chair, your cushion, floor, your bed. Where the weight of your body and its weight make contact with the surface that holds you up from the pull of gravity. Take a deep inhale and exhale. Feel the contact and relax. Release into that support that holds your weight. You are here now. Breathing naturally, normally. On the inhale, feel places in your body where you're holding, tense, tight, contracted, even slightly, even something which now wouldn't be called tension, but ever so slight tightening of the muscles around the hands. On the exhale, relax. Relax the places of holding. You might have something around the elbows, around the shoulders. Maybe a slight softening in the face, around the mouth, around the eyes. And maybe there's tension associated with your thinking mind, the activity of thinking. As you exhale, soften, relax, open the thinking mind. And then lower your attention into your torso to feel the experience of breathing, the comings and goings of inhale and exhale. Feeling the rhythm of breathing in and breathing out, and the rhythm of expansion and contraction, breathing in and breathing out. And as you're breathing, notice that you're aware of your body breathing. There's very simple cognitive moments of recognition of breathing in and breathing out. There are shifting, changing cognitions, cognitive moments, and there are shifting, changing moments of sensation, sensing. And there might be a general sense of awareness or observation. see if the sense of being aware of breathing can be like a wide open window, big open window. The window being opened is mostly an absence that allows the breeze to come in, light come in. Just like the openness in the window has no weight, no substance. Awareness like a window has no substance, no weight. It both is something and isn't something. A receptivity and openness in which what you're aware of doesn't linger, doesn't settle, where what is known and felt is almost the same, as if it has no weight, no size, the knowing of what's happening. The receptivity in the mind that knows the experience, feels the experience. That receptivity is like an open window. That doesn't resist anything, does not hold on to anything. And whatever you know it lightly. If you know in-breath as an in-breath, know it so lightly that the knowing has no weight, no substance. It's almost like a hologram. Comes and goes, nothing there to hold on to. Being conscious of breathing is weightless in and of itself. It is empty of substance, empty of self, empty of past and future. The simplest way of being conscious is like an open window, and what comes through the window is equally weightless in how it comes through consciousness, how it exists in consciousness. The body might feel like it has weight and substance. The breathing might have very particular clear sensations that are felt, but being conscious of it, being conscious of the sensations has no weight, has no substance. Stay close to the lightness of consciousness. The emptiness of it, like an open window, empty of any glass interfering with what comes through the window. as you're aware, as you're mindful of what's happening in the present, can you find your way to that, to how you're aware with ease, without any effort? If you make no effort whatsoever, how are you aware? Can there be hearing with no effort? Even with your eyes closed, can there be seeing with no effort? Without a decision to see, can there be sensing of the body that simply happens on its own? Sensations that arise without a decision on your part. Even if you are trying to do something with your awareness, what comes into awareness effortlessly, lightly? In that effortless way, the feeling of effortlessness, does it come along with being free of weight, free of substance? Not the sensations, but how they are known, how they appear effortlessly. Once you're aware, then you might make effort to continue being aware. Relax and look around to what arises effortlessly. What is known without effort in the vast emptiness of the mind. And maybe in what appears effortlessly, new sensations, new experiences, maybe very subtle, when they first appear in that effortlessness, are they empty of clinging, empty of attachment? way in which some things appear in consciousness effortlessly can then be recruited into effortful awareness. If that's the case, relax, allow, and be ready for what next comes effortlessly. Effortless awareness that has no weight, no substance, where there's a emptiness of substantiality. And then to turn that effortless awareness to notice what you know effortlessly about the people you might encounter today. How do you hold them in the same soft, empty field of consciousness, so the others don't land, don't stop, don't get caught in your awareness? They appear, they pass through. You see others, but you don't cling, don't get tight or contracted. And in that open space of awareness, let your tender heart vibrate and radiate. Let the warmth of your heart flow into that awareness, flow into the space. Let your inner warmth and care include all the people you encounter. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. Thank you. Hello and welcome. So, the topic for this week is emptiness, and that's a topic which has received a lot of philosophical analysis. There's a very good book about Mahayana emptiness, where you get a sense of the philosophy and the complexity, perhaps, or of this kind of teaching. The book is called The Emptiness of Emptiness. And and there's been many interpretations of it, and some of it is interpretations that posit kind of absolute statements about the nature of reality. So in philosophy that's called ontology. And there's some that point to the deep experiential ways in which emptiness is an expression of the profound natural capacity we have for awakening and liberation. In the Theravadan world, the emptiness is a topic that's closely related to practice, awareness practice, mindfulness practice. And that gives us a clue that it's not meant to be philosophical or nature about reality, but is much closer to how we experience things. It's not exactly about the nature of awareness, which is back to this kind of philosophy or ontology, the reality of awareness. The reality of anything is not that important. But what's important is the immediate present moment experience of it that helps us to see and understand how we get caught, how we suffer, how we become free, how we thrive with the wonderful inner life that can grow. And so in this regard, emptiness in this Theravadan tradition is really pointing back to ourselves, to experience, not to reality, not to philosophy. In later Buddhism, there were some people some schools of Buddhism that posited that the fundamental building blocks of reality, that they called dharmas, had some kind of inherent nature, essential, permanent, lasting kind of substance in the middle of them. And that became the later Buddhism. Mahayana critiqued that and said, no, nothing has any essential nature. And then they assumed that all the earlier schools had this belief. And so our Theravadan school has been critiqued for having this belief that we don't really have the deep understanding of emptiness, because we don't have this belief that all things, all dharmas, have no inherent essence. Self-nature, sometimes it's called. And but we just talk about it in different ways. To critique our early tradition by a vocabulary that was born hundreds of years after it began is to kind of take inappropriate concepts and assume that because it's not there, it's somehow missing. In the Theravada tradition, the word that they talk about is heartwood. There's a word sara, which means it's a heartwood of a tree, but it can mean the essence of something. And the emphasis that in the Theravada is that nothing in our direct experience, nothing the way we experience things, has any heartwood, has any essential nature. So rather than saying there's no essential nature, we say there's no sara. That the essential, those of you know, the later word is svabhava. In the early tradition, svabhava. Sva means self, bhava means kind of like nature. And so in the in this tradition of ours, the primary ways in which we get attached to self, the way we construct the self, the way we construct kind of the constructed experience, has to do with these 5 bundles. Appearance is how things appear to us, not how they are, but how they appear to us is something different than what they are. We often assume they're the same. How things are sensed is not just simply innocent kind of sensing. We participate in the world of sensing in some kind of way with values and attachments and interpretations that magnify or diminish or affect what we sense. What we recognize, recognitions of things, we're not innocent bystanders who just everything we see accurately. We interpret all the time what we see. We have to. We see a green light, and at the intersection of streets, we know that it means you can go, and a red light means to stop. Other places, red lights mean something very different. A red light flashing on the car behind us suggests to us that it's a police or an ambulance or emergency response vehicle. And so we interpret it contextually what it is, and we recognize it. But that recognition is a learned phenomena, and we're not just innocent seeing things as they are, we're bringing in our memories, ideas in order to recognize it. And then we have stories. We tell ourselves stories about life. We tell our stories about ourselves, story of what happened to us. Humans are story makers, story livers. We live in stories. And we live in some amazingly abstract stories that are built story upon story upon story. And these are the mental fabrications, the mental constructions that we are capable of making that sometimes are more real than what's actually happening in the world. And certainly I've been succumbed to making up a story, interpretation of what I think happened or what might happen, and find out later that it wasn't true. But at the time, I believed it was true, and that was to my detriment, and maybe sometimes to others as well. And then there's cognition, moments of cognition that when we string them all together, give the illusion, give the sense that there's maybe a permanent, ongoing field of consciousness that's available to us. So the Buddha talked about all this and said each of these 5 bundles, 5 areas, are empty. And he used 3 different words for empty, tucca, rita, and sunya. So empty, hollow, void. And then he has this poem, and the poem goes like this. Appearances are like a lump of foam, sensations like water bubbles. Recognition is like a mirage. Mental fabrications like a banana tree trunk. And cognition, consciousness, is like a magic show. Appearances are like a lump of foam, and he used the analogy of a lump of foam floating down the Ganges River. That there's the river, but then there's that which is insubstantial, even more substantial than the water, the foam that's on the top of it. And how things appear to us has something to do with how we construct, how we select, how we interpret, how we understand. And appearance is this extra thing that the mind does. And the extra thing the mind does is like foam. It has no substance. Sensations are like water bubbles. That I think with the water bubbles, what they're talking about here is the rain falling on the surface of the water, lake, and little bubbles, little puddles, little wavelets that get formed They come and go very, very fast, and they don't last much. There's you know, no permanence there. Recognitions are like a mirage. So when we recognize something, we're actually often projecting and overlaying something on top of it. And that what we overlay on top of it, the projections we have, is a little bit like a mirage. We're making it into something that sometimes is practical and useful, but it's our kind of projection onto it. The mind creates it. And when a whole society participates in that, it can seem like it's real, but actually it's more like a useful interpretation, useful idea about what this thing is. So we all participate, but it's still a kind of like a mirage in how it's created by the mind. And mental fabrications are like a banana tree, plantain tree, and what that the trunk of a banana tree is not really a trunk. It's wrapped around leaves that are wrapped around very tight. And if you cut it, it's hollow in the middle. It has no heartwood. And and so these stories we live in, they might be fascinating. They might be useful. They hold up all the bananas that we produce, all the stories and ideas and many values that we hold on to are byproduct of this banana tree that we have in the mind making stories. And they can get so tight and wrapped around these stories, but in essence, the story making mind, the fabrications we make, have no solid core. They just hold themselves up. All the stories hold themselves together until they don't. And finally, it's cognition or consciousness is like a magic show. And the magic show is the way in which individual moments of cognition, when strung together, when happening quickly, give the magic illusion of there being a field of permanent consciousness, broad consciousness, ongoing consciousness. And sometimes people get attached to that. They make grand philosophical and religious conclusions based on that. But it's kind of like a magic show. What we do with moments of cognition. So what has all these have in common is that the Buddha is saying that not that the world is empty, but that what's empty is how the mind constructs it and holds onto it and interprets it and holds it, and what the mind does with it. That is empty. And the amazing thing is it's amazing, shocking, difficult, inspiring thing about the teachings of emptiness. It's pointing out that yes, it's possible to experience the emptiness of awareness, the emptiness of cognition, the emptiness of how we know and experience things. That there's no heartwood there, there's no substance there, there's no and there we can find our freedom. There is no statement about reality being empty that dismisses its importance, says that it's not valuable to be present and caring and involved in the world. It's a teaching that how we know the world, we can know it in a way that's free. We can know it that we know it with ease and peace. Because the construction of the reality that we have in the mind, that is empty. So loosen up, lighten up, soften up. So that's free. So that is the grand conclusion to this week on emptiness. So I hope this has been interesting for you, and maybe for those of you who have some background in Mahayana Buddhism, maybe you can see some resonance or some overlap between these traditions, and maybe it suggests to you that maybe the big divide between the Mahayana teaching emptiness and Theravada doesn't have it, is overcome, so that we're actually sharing this profound teaching. So thank you, and I look forward to being back on Monday, and thank you.